Okay, so what if, like, when civilizations end dramatically,
Yeah.
it's not just, history. It's more like these echoes of, like, universal stuff, like consciousness and energy.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I think that's a great question, and that's exactly what we're going to be looking at today. We're going deep into Pompeii. Remember that book, The Last Days of Pompeii by Bullwitten?
Oh, yeah?
We're going to look at that, and we're going to weave in the Law of One. It's super interesting stuff.
It really is.
It's a channeled text that looks at the nature of reality and like where we fit into it all, you know?
It's a lot to take in.
It is.
I know a lot of people probably a little intimidated to even try to tackle that one.
Yeah. And that's why we're here today to do a deep dive. We're going to look at excerpts from The Last Days of Pompeii and the first 5 books of The Law of One.
That's a lot of material.
It is, but we're going to take out the most compelling parts and give you the core understanding, without overwhelming you.
Yeah, that's what we do here.
Yeah.
So, okay, so what are we looking for today? Like, what's the point?
We're going to look for connections between this fictional account of Pompeii,
Yeah.
and then this metaphysical framework that talks about consciousness and energy and like the nature of existence.
Right. Okay, so kind of like how these two seemingly different things might actually be talking about some similar stuff.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm into it.
Okay.
So let's start like right before Mount Vesuvius erupts.
Okay.
Let's go to Pompeii.
All right, let's go.
What's the vibe like right before everything goes down?
Well, Bullwitten does a great job of describing this.
Yeah.
The air is like super heavy,
Yeah.
unnaturally calm and sultry even.
Yeah, it's like nature's holding its breath or something.
Yeah, it really is. And even the sea is described as agitated, even though the air is still, it's like recoiling from the shore.
Whoa.
Yeah, and the Sarnus River, usually it's this like lively river,
Yeah.
but it's like murmuring with this like sullen, low sound as it flows by the villas.
It's like foreshadowing, isn't it?
Totally. It's like this ominous feeling.
Wow. Yeah. Okay, so we've got this eerie stillness, but then like in contrast to that, we've got all this human drama unfolding.
Yeah, totally. And we see that in the gladiatorial contests.
Yeah.
Like imagine the roar of the crowd, figures like Leiden and Tetrades, clashing in the arena.
Oh, yeah. It's like a big, exciting spectacle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then there's these banquets that are going on.
Oh, yeah.
These elaborate banquets hosted by Glaucus.
Fancy.
Yeah. And you've got characters like Clodius obsessed with himself.
Right.
Sallust kind of observing it all.
Yeah.
And even the way they describe Clodius having an umbra, which is like a constant shadow that follows him around. It's like highlighting this rigid social structure.
Just like a physical manifestation of like his place in society.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, think about Clodius for a second.
Right.
He's always out for himself. He doesn't really care about others.
Right.
And if you look at the Law of One,
Yeah.
that's a clear example of like third density polarization towards service to self. And that could hinder him in the future, when there's a potential harvest.
Oh, wow. So his actions are actually affecting his like cosmic progress?
Potentially, yeah.
Wow. Okay, that's pretty intense.
It is.
Okay, so we've got this like lavish lifestyle, but there's also a spiritual side to Pompeii too.
Right.
Like they had the Temple of Isis, right?
Yeah, it was a huge cult back then.
Really?
Very popular.
Right.
And there were also these like early whispers of Christianity.
Really?
Yeah, you had figures like Olympus and Ephesus,
Okay.
which suggests that society was already starting to change spiritually.
Okay, so Pompeii is more complex than just this like party town image.
Exactly. There's a lot going on under the surface.
Okay.
Even the public baths were a big deal, not just for hygiene, but for like social interaction gossip.
Like a community center almost.
Totally. And then you have all this tension too.
Yeah.
Like Arbaces, he's straight up malevolent.
Yeah, he's a bad guy.
He's got a bad influence on Ione.
Yeah.
And then there's Nydia, the blind flower girl.
Right, she's got her own secrets.
Like what?
Well, she's in love with Glaucus, but she also has this awareness of things that other people miss.
Because of her blindness, do you think?
Maybe, yeah. It's like she's tuned into something else.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, it's like she's got this inner sight.
Okay, so we've got all these things happening in Pompeii
Right
before it gets destroyed. And it's like all this life, but also these like subtle warnings.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it makes you think if there's something bigger at play here.
Right, like something we can't even comprehend.
Totally.
Okay, so this is the perfect time to bring in the Law of One.
Yeah.
Because it gives us this whole other way to look at what's happening in Pompeii.
Totally a new lens.
Okay, so let's get into it. What's the Law of One all about?
All right, so at its core, the Law of One states that all things are one, all beings are one. Okay, so like everything is connected,
Yeah, but it's more than just a concept.
Okay.
It's presented as like the fundamental truth of all creation.
Right.
This unity is beneath everything we experience.
Okay, that's a little hard to wrap my head around.
Yeah, it's a big idea.
So how does that connect to Pompeii?
Well, the law of one talks about densities of experience.
What's that?
It's like levels in a game.
Okay.
Each level has different rules and challenges.
Gotcha.
So we're on Earth and we're in third density,
Okay.
which is all about self-awareness and developing our ability to choose.
Okay.
But there's a potential shift to fourth density.
What's that like?
Fourth density is all about compassion and understanding how we're interconnected.
Okay, so it's like we level up as a planet.
Exactly. These shifts are called planetary transitions or harvests.
And they happen like regularly.
Yeah, about every 25,000 years.
Wow.
And there have been previous harvests before ours,
Whoa, so Earth has gone through this before.
according to the law of one. Yeah,
That's wild.
yeah. And a key part of this whole progression is polarization.
Okay, what is that?
It's not about being good or bad.
Okay.
It's about the direction you're facing, like your fundamental orientation.
Oh.
And this influences your vibration, and whether you resonate with the next density. So polarization is about the choices you make.
Okay.
Do you choose to serve others or serve yourself?
Oh, interesting.
The law of one also mentions the Confederation and the Orion group.
Who are they?
The Confederation is like a group of positively oriented beings, and the Orion group is negatively oriented.
Oh, so like good guys, bad guys, kinda?
Well, it's more nuanced than that, but yeah, they both influence things in third density.
Okay, that's pretty wild.
Yeah, and then there are wanderers.
Right, I was wondering about them.
They come from higher densities and they choose to be born here.
Why would they do that?
To help us, they want to assist in our evolution.
That's nice of them.
Yeah, Ross says there's a lot of them here, like 65 million.
Wow, really?
Yeah, but when they come here, they forget who they are.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it's like a forgetting process.
Like they don't remember their mission.
Right, but their mission is to radiate love and light and be catalysts for positive change.
Even if they don't remember consciously?
Yeah, it's like this deep inner drive.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's like they're here to help us level up.
Okay, so we've got Pompeii and we've got the Law of One.
Right.
Let's see how they connect.
Okay, so this is where it gets really interesting.
Yeah, let's get into part 3.
We're going to explore some parallels between these two things.
But we're not making any definitive statements.
Exactly.
Right, just looking for connections.
Right, so let's think about Pompeii's values.
Okay.
They were all about pleasure, right?
Yeah.
Social hierarchy,
Yeah.
even violence as entertainment.
Right.
Could we see that through the lens of third density polarization?
I don't know.
Like, what about the gladiatorial combat,
Yeah.
the crowd's bloodlust? Could that be a manifestation of service to self?
It's possible.
Yeah, it makes you think.
It does.
And then there are the choices the characters make. How do their decisions lead to their fates?
Right.
Maybe it connects to the law of one's idea of free will?
Yeah, like our choices affect our vibratory distortion.
Yeah.
And whether we're ready for the harvest.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, and what about the eruption itself?
Oh, yeah?
What if it's a planetary catalyst, triggering a density shift?
Ooh.
Because remember, the law of one says Earth is in third density beingness, but fourth density space-time.
Right.
So maybe the eruption is like this massive event that changes the planet's vibrations.
And helps those who are ready move to fourth density.
It's a possibility.
That's so interesting.
Yeah, and then there's the idea of light as energy.
Right.
The law of one talks about that.
Yeah.
So could the volcano's power, the lava, the ash, be seen as this energy transforming?
Yeah, that's a cool way to look at it.
Right, it's like this raw power shifting its form.
Okay, and here's another thing.
What's that?
Ra talks about subconscious expectations influencing our experiences.
Yeah.
So could the collective consciousness of Pompeii have played a role in the eruption?
What do you mean?
Like maybe their anxieties and fears about ignoring the warning signs?
Oh, I see.
Maybe that contributed to what happened.
That's a really interesting thought.
Yeah, it's like their subconscious manifested their reality.
It's possible the law of one says our inner states and the collective consciousness can shape our reality.
Okay, so that's a lot to think about.
Yeah.
Now let's move on to part 4.
Okay.
Let's look at some individual characters.
Right.
And how their journeys connect to the law of one.
Sounds good.
Again, we're just speculating here.
Right.
So let's start with Nydia.
Okay, the blind flower girl.
Yeah, she's blind, but she's also strong and selfless.
Right.
She loves Glaucus so much.
Yeah.
Could she be an example of positive polarization?
That's a good point.
Like she's oriented towards serving others even though she faces challenges.
Definitely possible.
Okay, what about Glaucus?
Well, he likes the good life.
Yeah.
He's a bit hedonistic.
Right, but he also has moments of caring.
Yeah, especially for Ione.
Right. So could his journey through pleasure and hardship be part of his learning process?
Totally. It could be how he works through his distortions.
Right, like his experiences help him grow.
Yeah.
Okay, and then there's Ione.
Right.
She's more intellectual,
Yeah.
more spiritual,
Mm-hmm.
connected to ancient wisdom.
Right. And she's got a strong moral compass.
So could she represent a greater alignment with the One?
I think so. Her qualities suggest a soul that resonates with unity and compassion.
Right. It's like she's already on a higher level.
Maybe.
Okay, and lastly, we have Episides.
Right.
He shifts from the Roman gods to Christianity.
Yeah.
Could that be him seeking a different understanding of the One?
It's possible the law of one says there are many paths to spiritual evolution.
Right, and his is through Christianity.
It seems like it.
Okay, so we've looked at all these potential connections.
Yeah.
But we're not saying Bullwitten was thinking about the law of one.
Exactly, or vice versa.
Right, we're just using different lenses to look at these themes
Right.
of human experience,
Yeah.
societal dynamics,
Mm.
and even cosmic events.
Mm. It's all about exploring the content without pushing any specific beliefs.
Right.
The value is in considering these different perspectives
Yeah.
and letting them spark new insights.
Exactly.
And maybe even helping us understand ourselves and the world better.
Okay, so let's wrap up.
Right.
We started in Pompeii
Yeah.
with Bullwitten's vivid descriptions.
Right.
Then we introduced the law of one.
Those core concepts
And finally, we explored those potential connections.
between these two very different sources.
We talked about how Pompeii's values might reflect third-density polarization,
Yeah.
how individual choices connect to free will and destiny,
Right.
the eruption as a potential catalyst,
Hmm.
energy transformation,
Yeah.
and even the power of subconscious expectations.
And we looked at how individual characters could represent those principles of learning and growth from the law of one.
So hopefully this deep dive gave you a lot to think about.
Yeah, without getting too bogged down in the details.
Yeah, as you go about your day, think about this.
Okay, what is it?
If we look at Pompeii and the law of one's ideas about cycles,
Yeah.
what other moments in history or even in your own life could be seen differently through these lenses?
That's a great question.
Or maybe think about this.
What is it?
If we're going through a planetary transition, like the law of one suggests,
Okay.
and we look at Pompeii's problems,
Like what?
self-interest, social division,
Yeah.
what are the distortions our civilization is facing right now?
That's something to ponder for sure.
And lastly, remember Nydia,
Yeah.
her inner light.
Mm.
How can the idea of oneness and love from the law of one help us
Help us how?
when we face tough times,
Good question.
whether it's personal or collective upheaval?
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
We'd love to hear your thoughts.
Absolutely.
And what other sources you want us to explore in the future.
Yeah, what other deep dives should we do?
Let us know.
We're excited to hear your ideas.
Okay, see you next time.